We're doing this.
This is hilarious. Bomb is me did a super chat saying there's compilations of you saying trannies and gay. You do realize the words trannies and gay are not bad words, right? Tranny, transsexual, that's not a bad word. Gay, that's not a bad word. You can say it, stupid. The fact that you think it's a bad word shows what an idiot you are. Why do you think those are bad words? Oh my God, you're so stupid. Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Oh my God, people are dumb. Wow. Anyway, I think we're done, right?
What do I say? What do I say? Where do I begin with this one? I mean, I know I'm laughing, but it's not funny. It's really not funny. There's so much that's wrong about this. And you all know something. You all know that something is wrong about this. You'll all have a different sort of impression of what's wrong about this. But I want to just sort of like collate a couple of perspectives on why this is bad. I want to sort of like have a not quite thorough and comprehensive, but I want a good, like, because I'm going to miss perspectives. I'm a straight white man. I can't. There's perspectives I cannot bring to this. As a straight cisgender person, there's things I cannot bring to this. There are other people who will have other perspectives about this, but I can at least sort of like break it down and analyze it a little. So I thought I'd do that, and I just, where do I start? Right. Where do I? Right. Okay. Yeah. First things first. I cannot have this word. I do not like this word. I cannot have that word behind me as I'm doing this. And whatever you may think of LGBTQ plus people, and whatever you may think of any sort of debate around that, we're going to put that to one side for a second, because everybody has a list of words that they find personally distasteful. It may not be... In fact, most of the time society does sort of carry... There are some words that are prescribed as taboo by society. You know, we could say them in private, but publicly you generally wouldn't. And they're usually the good words, the fun words, like and you know, they're usually... In fact, they're usually related to like sex and feces, but previously they used to be like damn and goddamn you and taking the Lord's name in vain. You know, like 100 to 200 years ago, the act of damning somebody was worse than telling them to fuck off. But nowadays, because our society and our morals sort of like shifted over time, it's more words relating to genitals and to sex and to defecation and just general sort of like the waste of the body, the bodily functions and fluids are taboo. But even if you're okay with them, there'll be you know, there'll be some words that are personal to you. They might not be related to sex or gender. They might be more personal to you. They might be because you've heard that word thrown at you, or it was a nickname at school that you didn't like. There was a kid at my school called Jimmy Glasscock, and you could always see when he was coming. I'm sorry. I can't claim that. That's Alan Davies' joke. I can't claim that. I just really love it, and I'm trying to bring a bit of levity here because I have a feeling that this is not going to be a particularly fun video. So you will have your own personal list of words that you don't like and you won't say, you know, and they're not necessarily related to sex or gender identity. They're usually something unique and specific to you based on what you've been through your life. You might find a certain word distasteful just because you don't like the way it sounds and you don't like it. So, you know, it's just one of those things, and that's one of mine. Context matters as well. Context context matters as well. The context in which a word is used can change the intent of it, and therefore the meaning of it, and therefore the sort of resonance it has with you. For example, last video I said, oh, brewing a fag with Steve, and I can say that word perfectly fine with the context of a smoke, going out for a cigarette or a roll-up in the UK, you're going out for a fag. But using it as a slur for gay people, I'll never bring myself to say it. I wouldn't. If he'd said that word there, that would have been an F and 2 stars. If he'd have said it there. But if you tell me, I'm going out for a fag, I'll come join you. Or if someone gets up, you're going out for a fag. Yeah, fine. I feel fine saying that. But in that context, no. And you may feel fine saying this word when you're working on a car relating to a transistor, or if you're a skateboarder and you're referring to transitioning from like one pipe to the other as you go. There's context in which that word occurs and it relates to something else, but he said it here in this context, so I don't want it. I don't like that word. I'm not having it behind me. And, you'll probably have your own words that you don't want behind you. So this is nothing to do with a position, or in fact, well, it is, obviously. It's based on my personal beliefs about transgender people. That's why I don't like that word. So it is, in a way, based on the politics surrounding the debate. But I don't even like calling it a debate. It feels weird to say, hey, you people that exist, your rights, we are debating them. But anyway, I don't want to get into that. That's tangential to discussion. That's not the point of this video. You will have made up your mind about trans rights, and I'm not here to change them because that's not my job. And it's a task that YouTube is ill-suited for. So we are here instead to discuss Phil and what his usage of that word, and specifically this quote, you do realise they're not bad words, means. So let's go back to it. Let's break it down. He starts off, when he gets a super chat from Bomb Is Me, he starts off, he reads it, and he goes, "This is hilarious."
This is hilarious. Bomb Is Me did a super chat.
So he's already read that, and he's already made up his mind. Rather than just going, Bomb Is Me sent me a super chat and said this. He said, "This is hilarious. Bomb Is Me has sent a super chat saying this." So he's already read it, and he's already made up his mind that saying to him, Phil, this word is a slur, is bad. So he's already done that. And then he reads it out, and then he looks at the camera and says, "You do know they're not bad words, right?"
You do realize the words trannies and gay are not bad words, right?
And I don't... How do you not know? Right. All right, let's get the socialising out of the way first. Let's do that, because seemingly everything that I do is related to Phil socialising. Every problem that I find with Phil, I can trace back to socialising. So let's get it out of the way. And that's never the only reason, by the way. The problem with Phil is, like, when people say, "Oh, Steve, so do you think that this aspect of Phil is because of this?" It's difficult to say yes, because there's normally multiple aspects influencing Phil at any one time. There's normally several different influences pulling him in different directions or pushing him towards one. So there's always multiple aspects to consider. So I'll get the socialising one out first. We'll do that, get it out of the way first. If you had a decent social circle, statistically you will know some transgender people. You're gonna. Might only be one person, depending on how big your social circle is, but you're gonna know one. You might not know they're trans, but there's gonna be at least one of your friends who is trans, or a friend of a friend. You will know. There will be ways in which you yourself will be able to find a transgender person or somebody who knows one within your social circle, because it's how socializing works. If any given group of people is a percentage of the population, then you should have a sort of equivalent percentage as your friends or family. And I have transgender friends. I've known transgender people throughout my life, you know. So him not having a decent social circle means he is unlikely to know transgender people or to interact with people who know transgender people. So he is unlikely to find out socially, through his social circle, that this is not a good word. But Phil's socialization is 3 primary sources. Twitter, chat, his wife. So I can imagine it's not easy to find from chat, because any sort of discussion of politics or current events to that extent is pretty much banned in his chat.
Silver Saturn did a 100-bit cheer. He said, what do you think about trans people in the military rage quitting? I don't, and I don't want to hear about politics.
So they're unlikely to bring up major rulings in cases, you know. They're unlikely to bring, or if it's the topic of discussion because of something somebody said on a talk show, it's unlikely to come up in his chat.
Oh, it's in the chat. They said, you just beat up a tranny. How do you feel? Yes, I beat up a he, she.
His interactions with his wife are not the best. And if she is in a similar social situation to him, where she doesn't have that many people, she's unlikely to be able to bring in new information to him. She's unlikely to bring in like new social contexts or contacts from within her circle to him. So he's unlikely to learn that way as well. But how are you on Twitter and you don't know? How do you have a Twitter account and not know? Like, I'm struggling. I'm struggling, and I don't even think this shit's kicked in yet. It's like, how do you throughout your day on Twitter not, and especially for somebody who's had it for such a long time, how are you not aware at least some point? How are you not aware of, like, say, the day Graham Linehan got kicked off Twitter? How are you not aware of things like that? How are you not aware of transgender people's reactions to things like Supreme Court rulings and statements from the president, and, you know, major court cases that might go on, or just, you know, comments made on TV shows or in newspapers or things like that? How are you not aware? You know, it's not difficult to find, I don't say representatives of the trans community, because that doesn't sound right to me. It doesn't. I don't think the trans community has elected representatives even. No real community does, unless you know, like a union, for example. Your official sort of. Again, that makes it sound like trans is not an official category. I don't mean to say that. I mean, you know, no one person is representative of the transgender community, just as no one detractor is representative of the detractor community. So, but it's not difficult to find transgender people or transgender talk about transgender issues on Twitter. You know, this is a social app. It is built for socializing. It is built to show you, and its algorithms coded to show you things that you may be interested in, or things that might, you know, be relevant to you, or things that, you know, might be going on in the world. You know, it's coded to get you looking and finding and going and interacting with other people. You know, the more you're on Twitter, the better for Twitter. The more people you interact with Twitter, the better. So, you know, he must socialize so little on his one main social outlet. Because I don't know how you get to being 40 years old in 2022 and not know that that's a bad word. And gay as well, right? Gay as well. Gay is fine as a descriptor for a person if they are gay. If that man has a boyfriend, it's probably gay. You know, gay is a fine word in that context, but it can be used as a slur. You can describe something as gay, and it's normally negative, so it's a bad thing. So in that context, it is a bad word. So he's not only wrong about the slur, the explicit slur, but he's also wrong about the word that is recontextualized as an offensive word. It's recontextualized as a slur. So he's wrong about that. And I feel like he's wrong about that because he doesn't go out and socialise at all. So he has no understanding of wider issues. How does he form an opinion on like a Supreme Court case that says LGBTQ people have the right to marriage across all 50 states? How did he respond to that? How did he respond to news of the legalization of gay marriage in Ireland or in the UK or in like parts of Europe? His fans are from these places and they will be talking about it. So how does he not know about that? How does he not form opinions about that? Because he doesn't have experience of it. He's got no experience of it. And this is another issue for me, because it leads on into how Phil cognitively deals with issues that he has no experience with. So, one second. In fact, before I do that, I'm going to... So how does Phil deal with things he has no experience of? Well, when you encounter something that you have no experience with, you immediately start searching your mind for anything remotely similar. So you'll go through your life and your memories and the things you've learned and sort of like the things you picked up passively and the things you've actively sought out and read and watched, and you'll go through everything in your memory to sort of like think, what have I got that's similar to this that I can draw from, and then sort of like form an opinion. Because forming an opinion is sort of like inbuilt in us. Like assessing things it's a primal part of us. It's just there. Threat assessment and like environmental awareness are just parts of like the animal part of us. They're the lowly stamps of our origin. And so when the integral parts of the brain that are responsible for that sort of like expand and grow and become entangled and enmeshed with the like higher functioning parts of your brain that consider higher processes like what course of action should I take, what's the potential outcomes of them to and then evaluate them to decide on which one you should take. Or is this thing a threat to me? Is it a friend to me? Is it going to help me? Is it going to harm me? Is it going to kill me? All that sort of stuff. You do that, and we are now no longer at the point where we need to do that constantly, because we don't have animals hunting us and we're not hunting them. So trying to assess something that you've got no experience with is there's autonomic processes that happen before you can make a conscious decision. You go over everything and you start realizing, hey, I'm thinking about this thing. And then you try to think, what else? And so as you're trying to form an opinion, you're going through everything. And Phil doesn't have that much to draw on. Again, because he doesn't socialise. But because he doesn't have that much to draw on, he's forced to sort of like either stretch the definitions of the things that he considers similar. So he's having to look wider and wider, and his search is having to encompass more and more things. Or he'll make a snap decision. It's just like the rest of us. This is not a sort of like criticism of Phil. These are like basic cognitive processes that we all have. And we're all considered naive scientists. We're all just sort of like working our way through our lives and trying to put together everything so it sort of fits and makes sense to us. And when Phil does this with something that's not necessarily sexual or adult or anything, when it's just something that he doesn't know about, he will usually go, I don't know about that, I don't watch that, I don't read that, I don't listen to that, I've got no idea what you're talking about, that's not the place anyway, we're here for a chill stream, don't bring this up in my stream because I'll consider it derailing or sneak dissing or whatever.
So anyway, the point I'm making is this: I don't mind you guys asking me questions about wrestling every once in a while, but please don't expect intelligent answers, nor expect giant conversations about it, I don't watch it. I really don't know anything about it. Would I ever play the AEW game if it ever releases? I don't know. I'd have to look at it and judge for myself. The thing is, I don't watch AEW wrestling. To this day, I still have not seen a single AEW match. I like Jay Lethal as a wrestler. I don't know anything about it. And admittedly, I'll tell you this. My wife doesn't mind that I watch pro wrestling or like it, but she doesn't like it. She doesn't want to watch it with me. So I'd rather watch stuff with her that we like to watch together. Do I ever watch anime with Kat? When she first moved here, we watched a little bit of like Attack on Titan and stuff, but we have not watched any anime in a very long time. Does Kat watch anything that I don't watch? I don't know. I don't watch it with her, so I wouldn't know what she's watching. And I don't ask her either. I don't care. But we don't really stick with much, and we usually don't watch like narrative-based shows or dramas or anything like that. We usually end up watching travel shows or food shows and stuff like that, and we we listen to relaxing music and stuff like that. Carlos, we usually don't listen to music on our days off. Laughable Larry did another super chat and asked what I ever think about doing movie reviews again. The thing is, Laughable Larry, number one, I don't watch a lot of movies. Like, hardly ever anymore do I even watch movies, to be honest with you. Maniac Cop did a super chat. His thoughts on the G4 SJW approach towards games. I don't know, because again, people keep telling me about this. They keep saying that G4 is getting in trouble for SJW liberal stuff. I don't know, because I haven't seen it. I'm not watching G4. I don't watch TV at all, really. So I don't even know what you guys are talking about. Mr. Metal Fox did a super chat 8 minutes ago asking, do I watch Amaranth on Twitch? No, I don't watch anyone on Twitch. Zoya did another super chat saying, will you try to emulate creators like Review Tech USA or H3H3? No, because I don't watch their content, nor do I know what they do. Snow Lark did a super chat and said, would I ever watch a Snow Carl stream? I don't watch any streams. I don't watch anyone's streams at all. I only play games myself. I don't watch other streams at all. So the answer, I guess, is no. Silver Bullet did a super chat saying the people who restream your streams are cringe. I'll tend to believe you, but I wouldn't know because I don't watch them. Antihero did a super chat and says, okay, mate, I'm trying to become a member yesterday, but I watch your streams on a phone and won't let me. I've heard about this. Some people have told me that it's actually like it's hard or it won't let you become a channel member on a phone. I don't know because I don't watch YouTube on a phone. Thank you for the super chat. He says, do you ever watch any videos made about you by a committed troll? No, never. The thing is, I don't watch YouTube videos at all. Seriously, I don't watch YouTube at all. I'm too busy playing games and having fun with my life to worry about YouTube videos, especially negative ones. So, no, I don't watch any videos like that in any way, shape, or form. I don't care. I don't waste my time. What's the last book I read? I couldn't even tell you. It's probably one of the Game of Thrones books. I don't have a favorite baseball player, Billy the Kid. I already explained. I don't watch baseball. Oh, you know what? Woomy actually cheered too, and I saw it in the stream chat. She basically said, what do you mean you're not watching the World Cup? You know, something like that, you know. Basically making fun of me for not liking football, because I don't. I don't watch football. I don't watch any sports. I don't watch football. Someone just asked, how much do I watch football? I don't watch football. I did at one point in my life. It was like 10 years ago. Actually, it was longer than 10 years ago. It was the mid-2000s. Java, thank you for another super chat. No, I don't watch NFL, so I don't know anything what you're talking about, any NFL football game. And I wish that people would not try to derail the stream with sports talk. They do it on purpose, because they know that I do not watch sports. So they come in here and they try to derail all the chat talking about sports. I'm like, guys, stop it. This is not a sports stream, okay?
But when you don't want to do that, if you feel like I have to give an opinion this time, Phil tends to... He'll make a snap decision, again, like the rest of us. He'll make a snap decision, but Phil will stick to it. Phil won't flag that opinion as, by the way, this is based on limited amount of evidence and a lot of conjecture and a lot of assumptions, so be ready to accept that you might be wrong about this and just change, be ready to revise this statement. But Phil sticks to it. So the moment he's come to an understanding about something, he'll stick to it and it will remain inflexible. And so if you do not think that this word is a slur, you're not going to flag it in any way. It's not going to stick out to you. But then when somebody tells you it's a slur, you're going to be like, no, it's not. Because my experience of it, I've searched my memory, I've gone through everything that I've been through, and I have never been at a point where somebody has said to me, this word is a slur. So, until now. I've got no other previous experience with this word I cannot draw from. My only experience of it is...
Kill the trannies! That's right, all the women in this game are trannies. I'm not kidding either. They really are. They're All chicks with dicks.
That's how Phil will be thinking when somebody comes to him and says, this word you've been saying is offensive to this group of people. And he will think, no, it's not. My experience of it has not said that to me, so you're wrong. He won't consider, I might be wrong about this. You are wrong about this. So let's have another look. Let's have another look at how he carries that. Because this whole segment, this whole minute or so, is that in real time. It's Phil going, no, it's not. And he's already come to that conclusion. The moment before he starts speaking, he's come to that conclusion because he claims this is hilarious. I've already read the chat. I've already come to a conclusion about it, and I'm not going to change my mind. It's so ridiculous to me because it's counter to my experience. That's why I find it ridiculous. It can't possibly be an offensive word because I've not seen evidence that it's an offensive word. Which, again, as a 40-year-old in 2022, holy fuck. So let's look at the wording now. Let's look at how he handles this. This is hilarious. We've already gone over that. You do realise the words are not bad words, right? He's trying to come across as, I already know this, but I am going to enlighten you. Thank you for trying to enlighten me, but you are wrong, and instead allow me to enlighten you. And then he says it, and then he says transsexual.
Transsexual.
Which is odd, because this is transgender we're talking about, not transsexual, transgender.
What's the difference between transgender and transsexual, and how is it related to gender dysphoria? I'm Dr. Tracy Marks, a psychiatrist, and I make mental health education videos. But first I want to define some terms. The Merriam-Webster dictionary defines gender as the behavioral, cultural, or psychological traits typically associated with one sex. So gender is not synonymous with sex. It's really a subjective categorization based on societal norms. Gender dysphoria is a general term to describe the distress that one feels over the discrepancy between their assigned gender and the experienced or expressed gender. And this is very similar to the term transgender, which is the person whose experienced or expressed gender doesn't match society's expectations of their assigned gender. Transsexual refers to a subset of transgender individuals who want to modify or have modified their body through hormones or surgery to fit their desired gender.
They're not interchangeable. They don't both mean the same thing. They're different. And I think he doesn't know that. I think he doesn't know. He just has no experience of this at all. And he doesn't want to interact with it. So he goes on there. That he stumbles a bit, which is, I'll give him that. He's stumbling there. I don't think that's indicative of anything. I think that's just two examples. And as he's struggling for a third, he thinks, fuck it, and just moves on. So that's it. It's not a bad word. Gay, that's not a bad word. You can say it. Stupid. Phil's given you permission to say it. How nice of him. Stupid.
Stupid.
The fact that you think it's a bad word shows what an idiot you are.
The fact that you think it's a bad word shows what an idiot you are.
He's saying this with the confidence and the arrogance of the idiot. He's saying this with the bravado of somebody who is utterly convinced of his correctness. There's a bit where Anne Lee was streaming this. And Anne Lee said, who are you trying to convince?
You realize
I want to see his face.
Gay are not bad words, right?
Right? Who's he trying to convince? Who's he trying to fucking convince?
I don't think it's him trying to convince himself right there. I think he's genuinely trying to convince them. I think he's genuinely trying to convince Bomb is me. I don't necessarily believe that he's had a moment of self-doubt. I did briefly. I did for a little while, like in the immediate aftermath of it. And when I saw it, and I thought, hang on, yeah, because it does. You can interpret it that way, and that's fine. That's valid. That's just as equally valid an interpretation as mine. You know, to me, it seems more like he is that confident and that arrogant. There's a lot more evidence that suggests that than there is that he has moments of self-doubt. Not that I'm saying that he doesn't have moments of self-doubt and that there aren't copium segments for him to try and convince himself that, no, my channel is growing, it's doing fine, everything's been great. Not denying that. I just think in this specific circumstance, the odds are more likely that it is him just completely obliviously thinking, I'm right, I'm correct, and there's no other argument to this. There's none. This person is just like definitively wrong. And I'm going to try to explain to them and elaborate upon why it's ridiculous and why they're wrong. So I genuinely think it's coming from that place rather than I need to sort of like say this to convince myself place. The fact that you think it's a bad word shows what an idiot you are. Why do you think those are bad words?
Why do you think those are bad words?
Oh my god, you're so stupid.
Oh my god, you're so stupid.
Wow, amazing. People are so dumb.
Wow. Amazing. Amazing. Oh my god, people are dumb.
So I think it's that here. I think he's just genuinely convinced he's right. And I think there's similar situations where someone said, you know, hey Phil, this thing, and he goes, what? You're fucking wrong. Oh my god, this is so immediately bloody obvious to me how wrong you are here. You know, people are so fucking stupid. Oh my god. Wow. There's plenty of examples of that as well. So I think it's that. But I also don't think he realizes that not only is it an offensive word, but it's a subject, it's an issue that you have to be able to understand at a more complex level that he is ready to operate at. Because again, the internet is not the best place to meet transgender people with a view to discussing their experience as transgender people. The best way to do that is to go offline and to actually go out and meet transgender people and, you know, talk to them like people, because they fucking well are. So the best way you would educate yourself on a subject like this is to go out and meet people and talk to them and to, you know, have them not necessarily explain, but have them, you know, just share with you their lived experience and what it's like to be transgender. Just like what it's like to be gay. You would go out and speak to gay people and you would talk to them like you would talk to your friends and your family. I feel like this is less for Phil and more for Phil's chat, because Phil is never going to listen to this. Phil has no intention of listening to this. So this is more to sort of like show to Phil's chat why he's, not only why he's wrong about this, but why him being wrong about this is bad. So if you wanted to know what it was like to be a transgender person, you would just speak to transgender people. And you would do it offline. Ideally. But Phil's not going to do that. Not only because it involves socializing, but when you do that, when you talk to someone and you share experiences of each other's lives, you have to be in a place where you can empathize with that person, because that person is trying to say to you, imagine doing this thing but with this like major change, major difference between you and I. Imagine going to the shops just going to the shops to buy milk. Now imagine what it's like to go to the shops not wondering if someone's going to say something to you in the street, or you're going to get into a fight because somebody's kicking off with you, or, you know, just you're going to experience prejudice or discrimination in some way. You have to be able to put yourself in that situation. You have to be able to consider that other aspect. You need to be able to consider somebody else's position. And Phil, as a narcissist and as an asshole, is not going to do that. He is incapable of doing that. We have seen this time and time again. He will not consider other people's perspectives. So he is never going to learn why this is bad, because it involves cognitive processes that are beyond him. If he worked at it, he could learn those processes. You can teach a narcissist empathy. You can teach the sort of basic mechanics. Whether they feel empathy in that same way is different. It's neither here nor there, actually, to be fair. But the point is that you can teach the mechanics behind empathizing with somebody. You can teach somebody to think, right, okay, I need to consider this now. They're telling me this, so I need to understand this, and I need to think about this, and I need to consider this. And if you can teach those things, but it involves effort that Phil is unwilling to expend. So he's never going to learn, not only from a social standpoint, but from a cognitive standpoint. He's never going to tell himself, I was wrong about that. He's never going to look it up. He doesn't even have the intellectual curiosity to think, hang on, were they right? I need to check. There's another intellectual stagnation. I should be keeping these as a red flag list behind me here. Future Steve. I know you hate me. I'm giving you work and I'm smoking your weed. But you've only got yourself to blame. Anyway. Fuck, the microphone probably picked that up. That was my stomach. Also, sorry for looking down so much. I just transcribed what he'd written. What he said, so that I could have it here without having to keep referring back to the clip. But I'm going to do that anyway at some point, because I also need to consider his body language here. But first things first. Actually, should I do it now? Because... Nah, fuck it. We'll go with this for now. We also need to consider, since we're considering Phil's cognitive approach to not considering other people's perspectives and not even going looking for it, you need to consider Phil's previous experience with this word. And sometimes this one. Because we all remember the clip from the PUBG stream on Twitch.
I want to watch some faggot insult some homo. You go on YouTube. I want to watch some guy throw around all kinds of insulting slurs constantly. Well, you go to YouTube. And by the way, when I said those two, oh my God, he said faggot and homo. Obviously, I'm not prejudiced against homosexuals at all. I'm trying to say that's what you would do. That's the kind of people who go to YouTube. You can't say those words on Twitch. Well, I was not actually, well, all right, I said them, but I wasn't saying that's something that I would say on Twitch. You know what I'm saying? So here we go. I apologize on my hands and knees that I said those words. I did not mean them. I was saying that that's what you see, kind of shit you see on YouTube constantly. Okay, there, I apologized.
But ones that tend to sort of like slip under the radar a bit more, because these are explicit. He's saying those, you know, he's saying the slurs in those clips. The ones that we remember. Oh, fuck. What's he said now? I'll put it on the list. So when he's explicitly said the words, we remember those clips, and that's why we remember the clips, because he's explicitly said the words. That's why Arnold Filzer
Nigger
gets remembered. But the ones that tend to sort of like slip a bit more are when he does the lisp. So you'll remember the PUBG one, but how many of you remember...
Captain Spirit is
Captain Spirit is fabulous. Oh, he's gonna bring all kinds of truth, justice, and love to the galaxy. Oh yes, Captain Spirit. The awesome adventures of Captain Spirit.
Oh, can you remember...
John says I'm forgetting to flail my arms around and yell awooga. Awooga. Oh my God, I love it. This is my favorite part of the game. When I play a JRPG, I can't wait until the fabulous parade that's right in the middle of smack dab in the middle of the game. That's what I live for, boys. Come on, boys. Let's get over to Phenomenon and share our happiness and our smiles. They're far too depressed over at Phenomenon. Come on, everyone. Oh, Auga. Holy shit. Oh, come on. Bring the power of smiles. Oh, those little Phenomenon guys and gals are going to look so happy when we arrive in town. With look at my beautiful peacock feathers coming out of my bunghole. They're going to love it. Oh. That's actually how I hold these in place. They're actually in my anus. I shove these feathers right into my rectum. Come on, guys. You can't stop. You got to turn here. Come on. Turn the parade. Come on. We've arrived. I thought we were going to Phenomenon. I guess we're not. We are. We're Phenomenon. What's going on? Oh, Brantine just cheered and said, looking fabulous, you silly Billy. Oh, you silly Billy. Come on, guys. You got to turn around. You went the wrong way. You fabulous boyos went the wrong way. How are we supposed to get the Phenomenon if you're facing the wrong direction? Come on, you sillies. Come on. Here we go. Here we go. Gotta go. Leave the parade right over here. Come on. Come on, guys.
Because Phil's use of this word as a slur, the earliest you could find, which aren't YouTube's transcription algorithms messing up and capturing something, because it captures Death Stranding as that. So when Phil was playing Death Stranding, that word came up a couple of times. But his first use of that word explicitly in this context, I'm really sorry, my nose is really fucking itchy. Trying not to be all Phil about it, but the first use was Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, which is in 2009.
For my 21st century.
I thought we were over the tranny.
And the most recent, apart from this, I feel he might have let some slip through 2020 and 2021, but the most recent I could find through Pigow anyway was Final Fantasy 6. No, 4. Sorry, not 6. Final Fantasy 4, which was 2018.
Oh, Stella, how I love you. Wait a minute, Stella, you're not really a woman, are you? You're a cute one. Why don't you let Stella get a closer look at you? It's basically saying that's a tranny. It's supposed to be a tranny.
So even if you look at like the early examples of Phil using it, and Phil, as a defense, will say those are all old examples. You're taking them out of context. I was a different person anyway. I've changed. It's 20 or 30, not 20. Those are like 10 or 12 years ago. It's fine. I'm a different person now. Final Fantasy 4 was in 2018. So less than 4 years ago, he's still using this word in that context. So he doesn't have that defense anymore. He doesn't, as far as I'm concerned, he doesn't have that defense. He can't say, I'm ignorant of it. I was a different person back then. That defense no longer applies. 3.5 years ago is not long enough to be able to say, I have deeply changed and I fully understand. All right, I'll eat in a minute. Three and a half years ago is not long enough a time to be able to say, I can fully understand now why this is bad. I can fully grasp, the issues behind it and why it's seen as a slur. I've engaged with the issue to that mental, cognitive level. It's just not long enough. But when you consider that there's at least 2 videos showing rampant examples of transphobia from Phil, you then need to consider his attitudes towards it. You need to consider that these attitudes are again born of not socializing, but they're also born of the oh, I'm going to whinge about his back. The attitudes are born of the place that Phil grew up in as well. Phil's whole life has instilled in him the values that he has now, just like the rest of us. except with our own lives, not Phil's, obviously. My life has instilled the values I have. Your life will instill the values you have. Phil's life has instilled the values Phil has. So him not going out is a huge part of that. But him also not being part of a culture, a social group that could include people to that extent. And again, this is not necessarily Phil's fault, because growing up now, you're a lot more aware of LGBTQ issues and people, and you're aware of their existence and the issues around them. In growing up in the 80s and the 90s, it was much different, and not only because the internet was not a thing, but social attitudes at the time were very, very different. Not a place for your childhood, Steve. But I knew about gay people from a very early age, and I know that me and my brother and our childhood growing up around LGBTQ people and being aware of their issues and having it be explained to us at levels that we could understand as we grew up. So you go from sometimes men and women love each other, but sometimes a man loves a man and a woman loves a woman, to being able to engage with and understand stuff like, do you think he can describe the gender binary? Do you think he knows what it is? Or do you think he'd say, didn't I play that on the 360 back in 2010? He's not aware of these issues, so he's not able to engage with them, and he's not aware of them because he's just not in a place, and he's not grown up at a time where awareness of it is commonplace enough that he was likely to encounter it. I knew about... Apparently I don't know about eating that much. But I knew about gay people from a very early age because I was specifically taken to see gay people and I went to gay events, and I went on pride walks and protests when I was like 7 and 8 because I was taken there by parents, and me and my brother knew about these things because we were introduced to them by our parents, and we were like, these things were contextualized and explained to us in ways we could understand by our parents and by family friends as well, who would also be part of these groups. And then as you grow up and a bit older, you start seeing, oh, hang on a minute, this relative as well. So you start realizing, and this friend has come out. So you start to be able to notice them more. But if you're in a place and time where this is not a thing, it's difficult to not only have the encounters socially with these people that introduces you to them, but it's also difficult to even know they're there, because these people are having to stay hidden. They're having to stay in the closet, as it were. They're having to keep these aspects of their lives private. This is another thing that I sort of want to briefly mention. Do I think Phil is in the closet? It's not the time or the place to fully go into this. Not just because of the plane going overhead. But very quickly, no. Because, and again, straight person, no idea what it's like to be gay and to feel like you have to hide it. I can sort of try to empathize with it, but I've got no actual experience with it. But from the people that I've known that have been gay and closeted and then come out and being able to talk about it, and the experiences and the testimonies that I've read from people who are gay and have been closeted and come out, Phil isn't displaying the same things as them, the same signs of anxiety and stress and worry and panic and fear. Phil isn't sort of displaying that to that extent and or showing that it's having that level of impact on him, because it's not an easy thing to cope with. I'm not gay, but I can fucking understand that. It's not an easy thing to have to deal with, so it causes a lot of stress, and sometimes gay men will struggle to not act in ways that harm themselves. You know, they will struggle to not kill themselves. And I just don't think Phil is displaying that. I don't think he's displaying any of the signs of the stress of being closeted. So I don't necessarily think he's gay. But it does lay the groundwork for this next bit anyway, because I wanted to talk about Phil's attitudes towards this, and that involves talking about Phil's attitudes towards sex and sexuality and gender. So you have to consider where these attitudes are coming from. Not just DSP, but what DSP is, what DSP's sort of like mental, psychological structure is. And not just a mess either. If we consider in other aspects of his life that Phil is essentially a man-child, he is not cognitively or emotionally matured enough. And we know that he's not, because when Leanna left him, he complained about having to do his own washing and having to make his own food. And so we know, not just from that, obviously there's loads of other examples of Phil displaying that he is basically a man-child. And his wife is essentially his mum.
What's going on, everybody? Let's talk. I'm late today, obviously. Sadly, last night sucked. And this happens from time to time, is I'll get caught up with stuff. I'm getting caught up with stuff. And sadly, it got me kind of, how can I say? Basically, last night I had a ton of shit to do. I had to wash like 2 loads of laundry. And obviously then I had to put the clothes away. I wasn't just going to leave them lying around the house. And then I had other shit to do. I had all these errands to do. And I didn't have time to do any of them during the daytime. So I was trying to do them at night. And one way I thought, gee, this would tire me out, right? This would get me tired so that I could go to sleep. It actually had exactly the opposite effect. I was doing all these, you know, errands and everything. And it kept making my mind think about other things to do. And it basically got the adrenaline pumping in my body. So, here it was, you know, very early morning hours when I should be tired and going to sleep, and I was putting clothes away and sorting clothes out to donate and doing all this stuff. And next thing I know, I'm like, oh my god, look how late it is, and I got all caught up with all this shit, you know. It happens. And it's my, you know, obviously it is my fault. I let things get out of hand, and the thing is, you know, now I live alone, right? I don't live with anyone else who can say, hey, Phil, it's freaking super late in the morning. What are you doing all this shit now? You know? And, what it really is, it's kind of like what my life was like back in Connecticut before I ever live streamed. If you remember, I started live streaming in 2013. So really, I only did it for about a year or so before I moved out here to Washington and I was living with, you know, my girlfriend. So for me, it's kind of like I'm back to having my own schedule. But because I had my own schedule, I kind of just wasn't... I need to be better at keeping track of time and doing things at times when, you know, when it makes sense. And it was cool that, oh, wow, I got all these chores and everything done last night. I got all this good shit done, so I don't have to worry about it tomorrow. Yeah, but then I didn't go to sleep. So here it is, like 5 in the morning. I'm in bed. I'd already been laying there for like an hour. I couldn't fall asleep at all because I had all this adrenaline still kind of coursing through my veins. And I'm like, God damn it, this sucks.
So if we can consider that he is a man-child in other aspects of his life, you also have to consider that he's a man-child when it comes to considering sex. I think part of the issue is that he can't uncouple them. That's a thought that's just occurred to me, so I would like to briefly expand on it. And this is a rambly video that's going to go on for like an hour and a half anyway, so fuck it, I might as well. He can't uncouple the two issues. He can't uncouple sex and gender, because so often sex and gender to him are interlinked, especially when the words like transsexual or homosexual, bisexual, they have sex in them. So he immediately connects it to sexual activity. He doesn't consider it in terms of relationship building or attraction physically and mentally and emotionally. He doesn't consider it as sharing your life with a partner of the same gender as opposed to a partner of a different gender. He can't consider it that way. He immediately and automatically assumes everything is always focused on sex. So it becomes dirty because he's still got an adolescent's approach to sex. There's a period in your life, and not just an adolescent boy. There's a period in your life as a boy when you have started puberty, but you're not quite cognitively ready for sex. You know, you might physically be developing, and I've got this one opportunity to do this, so I am taking it. When I was in my social science class, during the unit of the changing structure of family life, we when it came to the bit on divorce, I managed to reference a children's book called Dinosaur's Guide to Divorce. So just for kids to explain why their parents might be divorcing, and the family were dinosaurs. So it's called the Book of Dinosaur Divorce. And I'm doing it here. I'm doing it again. And there's another book that I thought I'm never going to get the fucking opportunity to reference this, but if you ever do, seize it. I'm going to recommend Living with a Willy by Nick Cohen, which is a guide for boys going through puberty. Because there's a period where you are sort of like physically ready for puberty, but your mind's still catching up, your mind's still developing, so you still have this sort of like adolescent, girls are icky sort of approach to it. And I think that's where he is. I think sex to him is really dirty. And when he was younger, and when his mates were still adolescents, and when it was like okay to act like an idiot in, you know, your late teens and early 20s, you're still okay to sort of joke about it because you have a jokey attitude towards it. It becomes a sort of like a funny, silly, gross adult thing, you know. It's a thing that you joke about, you know, because you've now puberty's fully kicked in. So you've got all the hormones coursing, you know, and your body is physically ready, but cognitively you are still at a period where you're like, mate, blowjob, handjobs, you wanker, you've had fucking wet dreams and shit. So you're still at that point, and it's okay because you're joking with your mates. When him and Rambo are playing games and joking about stuff like that, it's fine because you're still young. But he's never developed, he's never matured. He thinks now the mature attitude towards sex is to shut down discussion of it at all. Because if it's okay to joke about it there, adults must not talk about it at all. Adults don't joke about it. It's a private thing between two adults. You don't ever talk about it. He cannot consider that there is an adult way to talk about sex and gender. He immediately just shuts down discussion of it because now it stopped being a jokey thing and it started being an immature thing. It's an immature thing to mention sex now. So he shuts it down. He shuts down any discussion of it at all. That's why he always looks uncomfortable. He doesn't want to deal with it. If it's a super chat and he's reading it and I go, I'm not reading that out, he can exhibit a measure of control and just immediately get rid of it so he's not uncomfortable. But if it's a scene in a video game and he can't skip it, he's immediately uncomfortable because it's like, imagine you're watching a film with your parents and there's a sex scene in it, and imagine how uncomfortable it feels. Now imagine how uncomfortable it feels to be watching a film with your children and there's a sex scene in it. They're not necessarily children. They could be like, you know, teenagers or young adults. They're still your kids though. I mean your children in that respect, not your children as in age like 6 or 8. If you're watching a film with like your teenage son or daughter and there's a sex scene in it, you feel that uncomfortable. I think that same sort of discomfort is what he feels now. He feels that, fuck, I just want to get this over and get this thing over and done with and not mention it because it's an awkward discussion to have. Because, again, he's not at the level where he can have that discussion comfortably. He's not at the level where he can discuss it in an adult way. He's just still a man-child. And that approach affects his approach to gender. So, if you ever try to bring up trans rights or anything like that in his stream, shut it down. We don't talk about that sort of thing. We don't talk about anything political because anything political will probably involve an awkward discussion where he has to elaborate on an issue where he's not fully comfortable and doesn't fully understand. And I mean, I know not that that's anything that's stopped him before, but it's also something that's really adult. And so any sort of like display of ignorance in this regard is doubly dangerous because it's not only showing up that he doesn't know what it means, it's showing up that he's not actually an adult. He's not fully an adult, and that matters to him. He needs to be seen as an adult. That's why his marriage and his family are so important to him. He's got a house, he's got bills, he's got a wife, and he's got a family. That matters to him because he needs to be seen as an adult. But he can't handle things as an adult. He can't. That's why he gets so mad when Burger King gets his order wrong, or Amazon are late with his parcel, or his vacuum breaks. That's why he gets so mad. He's not able to deal with these things in an adult manner, and that extends to things like LGBTQ rights or any sort of discussion of any issue surrounding LGBTQ people. He can't deal with it. So he still has this immature attitude towards sex and trans rights and transgender people and bisexual people and lesbians and gay people and asexual people. Sorry, I was briefly thinking agender then, but yeah, even agender people, you know, non-binary people. That's the word I was after. He can't deal with any of it. He's not emotionally or cognitively mature enough to deal with it. So he still has an immature approach to anything to do with LGBTQ people. But he knows, because he's not stupid, he knows that that sort of thing is becoming popular. He sees it. He sees it in articles saying, you know, say Nike and Black Lives Matter with Colin Kaepernick, or what was that, Gillette with men and depression, or you know, this like a company standing for trans rights, or say gay LGBTQ developers winning a discrimination case against a games company, you know, a development company, a studio. He would be aware of these sorts of things, and he's sort of vaguely seeing the world's attitudes and approaches towards those things shift. Because again, he's grown up in a place and time where it wasn't that common, and it's gradually filtering through, as it will filter through all strata in society over time. But it's gradually filtering through to Phil, and he's sort of seeing it, and he's sort of seeing that, you know, companies change their logos to have a rainbow flag on Pride Week, and he will occasionally see articles here and there about something. So he's catching on, and he knows that being against this is a bad thing. Being for this is a good thing. He sees companies saying we stand for diversity and we stand against discrimination of all types and we are inclusive. And he sees all this going on, which is why it's time to talk about this. Now, when I did the 1,000 subscriber video and I did the heart attack bit, I left this out because I wanted to come back to it later. When I was still planning on having a really long video, I was going to have like a couple more things for breaks, and one of them was going to be a discussion of this specific slide, because this to me represents Phil's entire problem with the issue, that and the fact that he cannot engage with it, because this is ostensibly a LGBTQ pride slide. It's a slide stating allyship. It's a slide saying I support you and this is a place for you to be welcome. But nowhere on this slide is the acronym LGBTQ. It doesn't say gay. It doesn't say lesbian. It doesn't say bi. It doesn't say trans. There is no reference to it. There is no reference to gender or sexuality. There is no, it says, from the bottom of my heart, thank you all for being a part of this community. Know that this is a safe space for all. Is it though? If you asked him, Phil, what do you think of this latest LGBTQ rights issue? Do you think you could have that discussion in his chat safely?
So for 9 years, I've been doing things a certain way, and to on the fly try to adjust my style to be a more interactive style was a very different thing. I actually remember while playing Breath of the Wild, people were saying some wild, so people were asking me, what is your opinion on the LGBT community? What is your opinion on, you know, politics? And I'm like, this is wild. I'm trying to play a game, and people are asking me these wild, outlandish questions that have nothing to do with the game.
If you were bisexual and you were struggling with that, and something had happened in the news that you wanted to talk about. So you went, you know, maybe another, you saw news of another case breaking where somebody had been sued for discrimination and they had lost the case, and the LGBTQ people who were suing had won. And you wanted to sort of talk about that because you wanted to sort of gauge, you just wanted to talk about it. It was something that had been on your mind. And you were in Phil's chat. Do you think you could have that discussion safely? Do you think you could talk about that aspect of your life and your experience as a bisexual person in Phil's chat safely?
And then Java basically did a whole bunch of super chats about pronouns. No one cares, so you can stop talking about that now. And thank you for the super chats. Okay. Looks like I'm going to read all that shit.
And you are welcome and loved for the perfect and unique people each of you are.
Shout out to an anonymous $2 tipper saying that I should basically ban trolls in chat because let the detractors go talk about the bullshit. Yeah, well, the thing is, I'm playing the game. I can't really pay attention to what's going on in chat, and I apologize to anyone who maybe is annoyed at the discussion tonight. First it was sports, and people coming in here trying to derail the stream and talk about their genders and stuff. That has nothing to do at all with my content. As you guys know, I am someone who believes everyone has a right to be happy. I don't care what gender you are. I don't care what your sexual preference is. I don't care what the color of your skin is. I just don't give a shit. Go ahead and be happy. I accept everyone. But don't come in and derail my business. You know, come in and making the whole thing about you, right?
Phil does not have the intellectual capacity to engage with this issue, so he cannot properly word it. He cannot describe it appropriately. He can't use the right words. That's why he's trying to sort of, he doesn't know how to specifically encapsulate all people. He can't say all races, genders, ethnicities. Sorry, I should have said races. All ethnicities, all genders, all sexualities, all religions, all faiths. You know, he can't conceptualize in that way. He can't engage with the issue in that way. So he has to do this reduced sort of, you're all perfect and unique. You're all wonderful. I love you all for the unique, special little snowflakes you all are. He can't, he has to do that because he can't do it properly. Because he's just not at that emotional maturity yet. He's not like mentally mature enough to be able to do it. So my streams have and always will be a place for fun, adventure and friendship. You are what makes this community great. Well, they fucking better. They pay for it. But he has no ability to engage with this issue. He wants the sort of like he wants the kudos that goes with being a supportive ally. He wants to be seen as somebody who supports this cause. He wants to be seen as somebody who is, you know, he's on the right side. He believes that you have the right to live your life in whatever way you wish, but he just doesn't want to fucking engage with it.
Typical piece of Americana. Two guys living together in the desert. Two darlings. I'm totally okay with it. It's just that this game totally has shoved this whole non-traditional plot line down our throat constantly. You notice how everyone is like on the fringe of what's considered like traditional in America? You notice that, right? Oh, we don't just have normal people. It's these hippies who fucking don't want to live in organized society. They want to live in the woods and smoke pot all day. Oh, you know, you're in the desert, but the first group of people you run into is a woman who apparently, I'm guessing, she either has a medical condition where she can't grow hair, or maybe she's a cancer patient because she had no hair on her face at all. And she's an oddball artist making giant metal sculptures. And then a couple of dudes, you know, obviously a homosexual couple living out in the desert too. It's like, okay, still nothing traditional yet. I understand it, but you understand why people say how heavy-handed this game is? Like, everything is on the fringe. Everything has to be the agenda of the SJW or the LGBT. Personally, it doesn't offend me, but I can certainly understand why someone playing this game would be like, how fucking ridiculous is this, right? Anyway.
He doesn't want to deal with it. He wants to claim all the appearance of doing it. I have supported gay rights. My streams have been a safe place for LGBTQ people. I'm not going to do any work, though. I just want the image. I'm not going to change my beliefs. I'm not even going to vocally express my beliefs. I'm not even going to vocally say trans rights are human rights.
Ladies Diable did 100% trans that trans rights are human rights all year round, not just for Pride Month. I agree.
PTU en route, please stand by.
I am just going to say, you're all welcome here. And hope that that's enough. He wants the respect and the sort of like the credit for doing something without actually doing something.
Trans kids' lives matter to me. Dollars. Do you support trans kids' lives? Do they matter? I mean, lives in general matter. In particular, no trans kids' lives don't matter any more than anyone else's life to me. Well, obviously they have a right to live, I guess. So that's a silly question. Absolutely ridiculous.
Which again is Phil to a T. We know this about Phil. He wants all the credit and he doesn't want to have to do any of the work. And that's this is emblematic of that. He wants all the kudos, all the credit for saying, you know, I'm an ally. But he doesn't want to have to even say trans rights are human rights or have LGBTQ in his ally slide. And it really fucks me off. Really fucks me off. It's just so fucking hypocritical. There is no way his streams are a safe space for anyone, any LGBTQ plus person. Stay the fuck away from Phil's streams. They are not safe. You cannot discuss LGBTQ issues in Phil's stream. You just can't. You're going to get banned. You're going to get banned. And at best, it will be a quick ban by someone like Eternal Napalm, where it's just gone. At worst, you're going to get called out and we're going to get another one of these. It's not worth it. Not worth it. Don't do it. Don't do it. So, yeah. Right, what else can I do? What else? What else is there? I feel like there's something else that I'm missing. But I'm going to do that anyway at some point because I also need to consider his body language here. Body language, right. Let's bring up the clip.
You do realize the words trannies and gay are not bad words, right? Tranny, transsexual, that's not a bad word. Gay, that's not a bad word. You can say it, stupid. The fact that you think it's a bad word shows what an idiot you are. Why do you think those are bad words?
He's just so arrogant.
Oh my God, you're so stupid. Bomb is me did a super chat saying there's compilations of you saying trannies and gay.
Right.
You do realize the words trannies and gay are not bad words, right?
As he raises his eyes, his emphasis. He is this. You do emphasis like that. It's almost autonomic. When you do it naturally, you've got no real control over it because it's just going to happen. But you can choose to do it as well. You can choose to emphasize certain words. So if I was accidentally and naturally emphasizing a word, it wouldn't come. It would come across naturally and like that. But I can also choose to emphasize a word at my discretion. So he's choosing to do that. Either way, he intends emphasis at that point. So he really wants to hammer home that you are wrong. These words are not bad. That's the position he's taken. And again, starting from "this is hilarious," which it just indicates that he's already made his mind up. He's just now conveying his position.
That's not a bad word. Gay, that's not a bad word. You can say it.
He's so like, you can say it. It's dismissive. It's like it's beneath him. It's like it's beneath him to have to deal with this. He doesn't want to have to explain to you why you are wrong and this is fine. He's not going to go into why this is fine. He's just going to tell you, and I've done with it. So yeah, it's very fuck. It's very haughty as well. It's very coming. It's coming from a place of I know better than you. It's coming from a place of really, you really believe that. And this is just not like an engaging or appropriate attitude to take. Can you imagine if he was working a regular job and you were a customer and you came to him and you said, "I'd like to return this item," and he went, "Why? There's nothing wrong with it." It's really off-putting. Like sometimes I try to I've done it before. I've tried to consider what it's like to see Phil from the first time. Like, if you were a new person stumbling onto Phil's stream for the first time, what would it be like to encounter him? What would your experience of it be? And let alone the fact that you can't talk for the first day. You've got this. You've got him doing stuff like this, where anybody, and interaction with the streamer is always a great thing as a chatter. You know, I am slowly building my power by, you know, collecting as many wrenches in as many streams as I can. But when I'm in chats, I like talking to people. I like seeing my name flash up, and I like hearing. Like, if I make a comment to, like, Shinko or Aquatil or Raven's Dolphin or Meerkat, and then they go, yeah, that's right, Steve, they'll read out my comment and reply. That's a great feeling. And other people get that feeling as well. It's a great thing to interact with the streamer. So if you're in Phil's chat for the first time, you're just sat there watching him be like this with other people. And when it's a subjective thing, when it's like a, no, that game was crap. Let me tell you why that game was crap. It's a bit dickish, but it's fine. You know, people do get a bit like when your personal tastes are insulted. So you can sort of like see him going, yeah, no, that game was shit. Let me tell you why the sequel was much better. But with something objective like this is a bad word. Objectively, this is a bad word. And he's going, no, it's not. Let me tell you why. In fact, no, I'm not even going to bother telling you why. I just can't believe that you would even think that. In fact, what does it say about you that you think that? It says that they're right, Phil. It says that they're right. That's what it says. So yeah, you as a viewer for the first time are seeing this. It's really off-putting. It's really like, sorry for treading on your toes, Brittany Gates, but it's really bad for like building an audience. You're driving people away. This is a confrontational and aggressive posture. It's a very arrogance and like confidence to this level, confidence to the point where it's affecting it's not self-confidence, it's delusional confidence. It's, you know, this sort of level of like, I am so fucking right and you are so fucking wrong. That level of confidence, self-confidence. Sorry, I should have probably clarified between the two, because confidence can be a good thing. You can have self-confidence in that way as well. You can be, I am confident in my beliefs, so I am confident in my delivery, which I'm not. I stumble and ramble quite a lot, which some people have said is really nice and enjoyable, and I'm really glad, because I try to keep it light. It's difficult, you know. Fuck, I really should have eaten. It's been over an hour. I'm going to cut all this anyway, it's fine. The inside was a bit solid. They're not warm enough, so it hadn't melted. I need to warm them up. I just need to warm them up when the inside melts. Fucking lethal. So while things like confidence have positive aspects, they can be used positively. In other contexts, they're quite negative things, and they are often associated with aggressive behaviour. They're often associated with being aggressive. You know, if you're confident enough that you're like that, you're coming into somebody else's space, you're aggressive at that point. You can be considered aggressive, not necessarily with intent to harm, but you are displaying aggressive behaviours and aggressive posture. So that's what I mean when I say you could be considered aggressive like that. So if you're seeing this as a first-time viewer, you're hardly likely to think, I can safely discuss my sexuality in this chat. Because again, he doesn't have the intellectual capacity to understand. So,
stupid. The fact that you think it's a bad word shows what an idiot you are. Why do you think those are bad words?
And then this dismissive bit at the end, after he's gone, why do you think these are bad words? And then he's like,
oh my God, you're so stupid.
That bit, right, yeah, that as he's like that. That's the arrogance of somebody who believes that they are right to such an extent that they also believe that everybody else around them will agree. You are displaying that you think this is ridiculous to other people. At this point, other people would also laugh and say, yes, it's ridiculous as well. They would be in agreement with you. You believe that. That's why you're doing this thing. That's why he's doing that there.
Why do you think those are bad words?
It's ridiculous, isn't it? And then he puts his hands up and laughs. It's a really like, right, guys? At that point, he's stopped being aggressive because he's stopped leaning forward as much, and instead he's gone back and he's thrown open his arms. He's opening himself up at this, but not to that level, obviously. But you know, he's opening up to you because this is the point where he thinks you are all going to go, yeah, right, Phil. It's so ridiculous, isn't it? That's the confidence he has in himself. That's the confidence he has in his delusion at this point, because it is an incorrect belief. It's a delusion. He's delusional if he thinks that this is not a bad word. So he's so confident that he's gone from, what do you think, the arrogance of how ridiculous is this? This is hilarious, guys, right? Already believing, he already made his mind up, and now he's like, this proposition is ridiculous. He's gone from that to, you are so fucking stupid, to, I can't believe, I don't want to deal with this. This is below me. I can't believe that you can be so stupid, to, you are flat out wrong. I am this aggressive because I believe that I'm right and you're wrong. And then gone to everybody else, how ridiculous is that? That's the sort of like emotional progress he's made through his body language. He's gone from those conditions. He's gone through those conditions as he's said this because he doesn't believe he's wrong. The thought that he might be wrong has not entered his head. That's why I don't think when I'm asked, who are you trying to say? That's why I thought about it, and then I thought a little bit more, and I thought, I don't think so. He might be. I'm perfectly willing to accept that I might be wrong, and he might be, because that's also possible. But I just think this is more probable. I think it's more likely that he's gone through this because he genuinely doesn't think that he's wrong. And I don't think that he's trying to convince himself. I think he's trying to necessarily convince anybody, really. He's trying, unless it's the person that he's talking to directly, unless it's Bomb is me, sorry. He might be trying to convince them, but I think it's more just telling them that they're wrong. How stupid are you? You know, it's like the fact that you think it's a bad word shows what an idiot you are. You know, you can say these things, therefore you are wrong. The fact that you think it's bad shows what an idiot you are. You're ridiculous. I don't want to have to deal with you anymore. You're beneath me and I'm done. I just feel like it's that. I don't feel like he's trying to convince himself. I think he's genuinely just outright dismissing. He's insulting and then he's moved on. And he thinks everybody else will agree with him. And when he gets the feedback from chat, when he gets the sort of like idle mumbling at the end, wow, amazing. Oh my God, people are so dumb. Wow. Anyway, he sees it going that way. As he sees, like, amazing. That's his first dismissal. Oh my God, amazing. Wow. And then he turns to the chat, clears his throat, and then he's amazing. As they pop up, amazing. Oh my God, people are so dumb. Wow. And then anyway, he sees it going the other way. He sees that he might be wrong. No, he doesn't, does he? He sees that people are disagreeing with him. He doesn't see that he might be wrong. He sees that people are disagreeing with him. And he doesn't want to have to deal with it now. He's fed up. He's done now. That's it. He's made up his mind and he's done. We're moving on, guys. Anyway, he's cutting it off there. He's said his piece and there's no room for discussion now. This chat is a safe space for you, but this is what he's like when it comes to actually having discussion. It's shut down the moment he's done with you. So he's moving on because chat is turning against him and he doesn't want to have to consider at this point. He might like read them and go, wait, really? This person's saying it is wrong. This person's saying it is offensive. Is it really offensive? I'm sorry then. I didn't know. I didn't know it was offensive. I apologise for it. That is not a hard thing to do. Unless you're Phil. Most of us could do that. Most of us would see, upon seeing, having said this, and then turning to chat and seeing it, like he's doing, most of us would go, oh, hang on a minute. One person disagreeing is fine because you would assume, you know, there's probably at least 2 or 3 people that do. But as more and more people do, you start to think, okay, maybe I am wrong because people are disagreeing and they're consistently agreeing. And there's a number of them disagreeing. It's not just one person over and over. There are a number of people. They're all consistent in what they're saying. And we would think, hang on a minute, we'd at least check. We'd consider if we were right or wrong, and we would check. But he didn't want to do that. That involves introspection and energy and effort, and he's not going to do that. Instead, just anyway, guys, let's finish the stream. Time to move on to the gameplay. Let's go. And so he's done with it. And I think his previous attitudes, not necessarily coming from a place of discrimination. I don't think he actively hates in that respect. I think it would probably... I think transgender people would gross him out because he wouldn't know how to handle them, because he's had no experience of them. He wouldn't know how to deal with the idea in real life. You can see it in video games. He knows that people exist, but he would be unsure of how he personally would handle a one-to-one interaction with a transgender person. Meeting them for the first time, he would, you know, that would probably induce a lot of anxiety in him, so he wouldn't want to think about it. So any sort of mature approach to this, it's not coming from a place of malice. It's not like he actively hates or discriminates in that way. It just comes from ignorance. It comes from ignorance and a lack of cognitive development. So he's now cognitively unequipped to deal with an issue that demands more intellectual processing. It demands more cognitive resources because you have to think more. You have to consider more things, because you're not just talking about one issue. You are talking about a bunch of issues that conflict with it and interact with it. When you talk about a transgender person, you're not just talking about, oh, so what's it like to be transgender? You talk about every aspect of their lives, the way they interact with people, the way they go about in public, the way they go about securing loans and homes and getting financial advice and service in other places, the way that they approach relationships, the way that they feel other people might approach relationships with them, the way, you know, how do you approach telling somebody for the first time that you're transgender if they're a partner? How, you know, if you're like really falling for them and you want to see them more, you don't necessarily know. So there's lots of other aspects to your life that you have to sort of like recontextualize hypothetically to engage and consider issues like transgender people and LGBTQ rights and things like that, and it's beyond him. So I think he's just too ignorant and not cognitively developed enough. I don't think there's malice. I feel like I have to state that, not necessarily in defense of Phil, but I feel like it would be remiss of me if I left the impression that Phil hates gay people in any way. I don't think he does. I think it's just ignorance, like literal ignorance, not ignorance in the same way. You can see what I'm getting at, right? He doesn't hate gay people. He doesn't hate LGBTQ people. He doesn't hate trans people. As far as he is concerned, let's be honest here, they are all potential revenue sources. He doesn't give a fuck about you. He just wants your money. He doesn't care if you're gay. He doesn't care if you're bi. He doesn't care if you're trans. He just wants your money. But if it came to discussing these issues, I think they're just beyond him. So he shuts it down. And he still has an immature attitude towards it. So it's fine when it's a game and he's joking with chat and he's like, lady boys. You know. I think it just comes from an immature, sorry, not insecure. It comes from an immature place. I don't necessarily think he's closeted either. I just feel like I had to state that. I think he's just immature. I think he's just that immature that he can't actually consider that there's an adult way to talk about those things. So he instead just assumes adults don't talk about those things, and so he shuts discussion down. They're still immature. So he shuts it down because he's not immature anymore. He's changed. He's a different person. He's an adult. He doesn't consider that adults might be able to talk about sex in a mature way. And I feel like that approach also is here. I don't think this is prejudice. That's the word I'm after. I think it's ignorance. I don't think this is prejudice. I think it's ignorance. That's all. I don't think there's malice. I just think the issue is that when this level of ignorance and malice, not this is not necessarily about ignorance and malice, sorry. I feel like the issue is that when somebody of Phil's cognitive level, not to say that he's an idiot, but he is a bit. When somebody like Phil, who is incapable of engaging with the sort of like higher cognitive concepts involved in issues like this, the fact that he is going to, it's normally, you're normally capable in other situations of helping that person understand. You can slowly walk them through it. You know, you could sort of like slowly go through the layers and make sure that they understand and they're accompanying you. But with Phil, because he is so convinced that he's right and he doesn't want to consider that he's wrong, it allows for the harmful ideas behind this sort of statement when made by other people to develop. They find root and they develop because Phil doesn't think that this word is a bad word, so it's okay for you to say it, which means that it attracts the sort of people who like to say it. It means it attracts prejudice at that point. It means it attracts people who are willing to use that word in harmful contexts. And it shows to an audience that it may sometimes be. In fact, some of Phil's audiences are impressionable. You could argue that all of them are because they've obviously fallen for whatever fucking spell he's cast that's got him under his grip. But Phil's audience are impressionable. And he's telling these people, these impressionable people, that this word, which is a slur and is offensive, is not offensive and it's okay to use it. And that's harmful. That's bad because it allows that word and the prejudice behind it to flourish elsewhere. If this was the N-word, what do you think this would be? How do you think the rest of that sentence would finish? Because Phil doesn't consider that a slur. And again, I don't think that comes from a place of malice. I think it comes from a place of ignorance and a sheltered existence, a lack of exposure. That's what we've got here. But he's still a fucking idiot. And that ally slide. Just fuck off, Phil. You've got a lot of growing to do. If you think this, you've got so much growing to do. And for a man of 40 in 2022, I need to roll another smoke.